Hey everybody, deserts kind of seem like they're unlikely places for innovation, but they've become the setting for some of the world's most ambitious city-building experiments. From futuristic eco-cities to hubs designed to test cutting-edge technology, we're exploring 15 of the most fascinating experimental cities built in the desert. Number 15. Aros Santi in the United States. Aros Santi, which is in the high desert of central Arizona, is an experimental urban development project where there's a focus on blending architecture and ecology, which is a concept that the founder, Paulo Soleri, has called arcology. Established in 1970, it was planned as a prototype city that deals with the issues of urban sprawl and environmental sustainability. Soleri believed that cities should minimize their ecological footprint, reduce their energy consumption, and create a closer relationship between human communities and nature. The concept of arcology involves the development of highly compact urban environments that combine housing, workspaces, recreational areas, and agriculture in vertically dense structures. Set on a 25-acre site overlooking Arizona's Agua Fria River Valley, Aros Santi was built using passive solar design and local materials, and it features a series of futuristic dome structures and terraced buildings that blend into the natural desert landscape. Aiming to be as sustainable as possible, the community uses water harvesting systems, solar energy, and natural ventilation to reduce reliance on external resources. Despite its vision, though, Aros Santi has forever faced challenges in achieving the goals. Originally intended to house 5,000 people, the project currently supports a small population of about 50 to 100, depending on the season. While it may itself not fulfill the original dream, it still is, though, seen as a living laboratory for ideas that could inspire future urban planning elsewhere. Number 14. The new administrative capital in Egypt. The new administrative capital of Egypt is an urban development project that's around 28 miles or 45 kilometers east of Cairo, in the desert between the Nile River and the Suez Canal. Announced in 2015, the project hopes to deal with the problems of Cairo's congestion, support Egypt's growing population, and modernize the community's urban infrastructure, covering an area of over 270 square miles. It'll essentially become the new capital city of Egypt and will incorporate new smart city technologies to become more of a model of sustainable living. With a population of over 20 million people, Cairo has begun to struggle with its growth, as it simply wasn't designed to handle so many people, and rather than redeveloping large sections, this was seen as the best option. The NAC will become the headquarters of the government ministries, foreign embassies, and a new presidential palace, making it the administrative center of the country. It is being developed in multiple phases, with the initial phase covering about 65 square miles or 168 square kilometers. And in all, the city's been designed to accommodate around 6.5 million residents once it's completely finished, with a long-term capacity of over 7 million. There have been concerns, though, about its affordability and whether the city will be accessible to Egypt's lower and middle-income populations. The cost of this project, estimated at $45 billion, has also led to questions about how ethical it is to prioritize such a large-scale development in a country where there are so many existing economic challenges. The government's announced plans to relocate its administrative functions to the NAC soon, and it's hoped that this step will be the push that's needed to encourage commercial organizations to move across as well and make the entire project viable. Number 13. Troen, Saudi Arabia. So when you think of the climate in the desert, you imagine a searing hot temperature and a dusty environment, which is just about as far from the ideal conditions for winter sports as you can get. But there's a project in Saudi Arabia that's looking to change all that. Known as Troen, it's a new mountain resort city that's being developed in a country that's part of the Neo Mega project, which aims to stop the economy from relying so heavily on oil revenues. Located in the northwestern Sarawat Desert Mountains of the Tabuk province, it's a place that offers cooler temperatures than other parts of Saudi Arabia, making it more of an ideal setting. Once complete, it's set to host a mix of domestic and international events, including world-class sporting tournaments and possibly even the Olympics. There's the Ski Village, which will be the region's first outdoor ski resort, featuring artificial snow slopes and ski chalets. There will also be a man-made freshwater lake to be a resource for eco-friendly water use. The city's going to rely heavily on renewable energy sources such as solar and wind power to minimize its environmental impact. And amazingly, Troen is scheduled to be complete by 2026, with construction and development currently underway. Once operational, it's anticipated to attract about 700,000 visitors each year, and it'll be home to a permanent population of 7,000 people. With billions of dollars investment to make it all happen, the Saudi authorities are hoping it'll become one of the most unique winter sports destinations on the planet and attract people from across the world. Number 12. Al Ain, Abu Dhabi. Al Ain, often known as the Garden City of the United Arab Emirates, is a beautiful oasis city in Abu Dhabi. Near to the border with Oman, it's one of the oldest continuously inhabited settlements in the world, with a history dating back over 4,000 years. Its name, meaning the spring in Arabic, is an ode to the region's life-sustaining natural water source. The city's importance as a center of trade, agriculture, and culture can be traced back to its position along ancient caravan routes that connected the Arabian Peninsula to neighboring regions. It was also the birthplace of Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, the founding father of the UAE and the country's first president, and his legacy is deeply tied to the city in modern times. The thing that's so special about this place is its network of oases, the largest of which is the Al Ain Oasis. This green expanse covers an area of almost 3,000 acres, and it's home to more than 147,000 date palm trees, as well as fruit orchards and native flora. The oasis is sustained by an ancient falaj irrigation system, which channels underground water through a network of underground and surface channels. This falaj system, which has been used for over 3,000 years, is an example of how early inhabitants were able to harness the region's natural resources for agriculture. And it was recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2011. This oasis shows the potential for a beneficial relationship between the humans and the environment in the face of harsh desert conditions. Number 11. Ordos City in Inner Mongolia, China. Ordos City, which was originally meant to be a model for economic growth and urbanization in one of China's most resource-rich regions, and despite experiencing a few teething problems, it's now looking to live up to that expectation. Planned in the early 2000s during China's economic boom, when rapid urbanization was seen as an important part of national progress, it's situated in the Ordos Plateau, against the Ordos Desert. It's a city in the region with plenty of natural resources, particularly coal and natural gas. At the center of the development is the Kangbashi New area, which is a district that was planned to accommodate over 1 million residents. Construction began in 2006 with billions of dollars invested in state-of-the-art infrastructure. Major landmarks are going to include the Ordos Museum, which is a futuristic building designed by the Mad architects, and the Genghis Khan Mausoleum, a cultural site that honors the Mongol leader. In recent years, though, the government has promoted tourism, cultural events, and initiatives to attract businesses and residents, and large-scale infrastructure projects including schools, hospitals, and transportation hubs have all been completed to support sustainable living. The Kangbashi New area has now begun to see signs of life, and with falling property prices, incentives for relocation, and improved features, things are now turning around. But with continued investment and the provision of facilities, brand new desert cities like this can be built in a way that, in the long term, is viable. Number 10. Oroville in Tamil Nadu in India. Oroville, which is commonly called the City of Dawn, is an experimental township in the state of Tamil Nadu in India, near the city of Puducherry. Founded in 1968 by Mira Alfasa, who was known as the Mother and was the spiritual collaborator of Sri Aurobindo, Oroville was planned as a universal city where people from all over the world could live in peace and harmony. Instead, this would be a place where people from all backgrounds could transcend societal divisions and work toward divine consciousness and a higher state of living. The Mother described Oroville as a bridge between the past and the future, where humanity could realize its full potential through spiritual development. Oroville's charter outlined its guiding principles. It called for the city to belong to humanity as a whole, to serve as a place of unending education and progress, and to be a site for material and spiritual research that would help create a better future for humanity. During its inauguration, soil from 124 countries was brought and placed in a large urn symbolizing international unity and collective human effort. This urn, known as the inaugural urn, remains at the center of the township. And at the center of Oroville is the Matri Mandir, the city's spiritual and architectural focal point. Known as the Soul of Oroville, the Matri Mandir is a golden spherical structure that's used as a meditation space. Inside is a chamber with a large crystal globe that reflects natural sunlight, creating an atmosphere that encourages silent contemplation. Residents can take part in community projects, income generation, education, and environmental initiatives, and the economy is largely non-commercial, based on the principles of a gift economy and mutual sharing. Number 9. Madinat Al Irfan in Oman. Madinat Al Irfan, which is in Muscat, Oman, is an urban development project designed to show what a sustainable city can be like in the Middle East. It's part of Oman's Vision 2040 plan, which aims to diversify the country's economy. Called Oman's City of the Future, this development is intended to become a place for business and tourism, encouraging economic growth and creating a thriving community. It's located just 2.5 miles from Muscat International Airport. It will be a mixed-use city that balances economic opportunities with sustainable living. Eventually planned to cover an area of approximately 3 square miles or 7.5 square kilometers when it's finished, it will make it one of Oman's largest urban developments. Across both sides, there will be residential areas, commercial districts, hospitality and tourism facilities, and public and green spaces, all with a huge focus on sustainability. Walking and cycling paths along the electric and hybrid public transport systems have been woven into the city's plans from the concept stages, and everything within the area will be built using local and sustainable materials. It's expected to create thousands of jobs in sectors like construction, tourism, hospitality, and business services, with the aim of it being to attract local and international investment in businesses to make it a world city. It'll undeniably be Omani, though, with designs that include elements of local culture. Traditional architectural styles are combined with modern designs to create a unique aesthetic. The initial phase of it is already underway, with significant progress in infrastructure, housing, and commercial developments. The Eastern Irfan area, which includes a convention center and several hotels, has already begun attracting businesses, tourists, and residents. And as further phases are developed, the city's expected to have as many as 280,000 by the end of the decade. Number 8. Masdar City in Abu Dhabi. Masdar City in Abu Dhabi was first revealed in 2008, and it's a futuristic city that's hoped will become a global model for green living and clean technology. The project's vision is to create a green print for future cities as a template for sustainable urban development, and will do so by combining clever design techniques, clean technology, and energy efficiency. It's planned to have up to 50,000 permanent residents with 40,000 daily commuters once it's finished. With the green credentials as a focus from the beginning of the design stage, it includes a number of forward-thinking ideas to reduce energy use and its environmental impact. The city's also powered by renewable energy sources, mainly solar power from a 10-megawatt solar farm on the outskirts of the city. The buildings in the city are built using low-carbon cement and other sustainable materials, which, in theory, uses 40% less energy and 50% less water than conventional structures. Advanced waste management systems will promote recycling and reduce landfill waste, with the goal being to have a zero-waste policy through composting and reuse of materials. Several leading companies and international organizations have already set up offices in Masdar City, including Siemens, the International Renewable Energy Agency, and Honeywell. The plans have, though, taken longer to put into action than had originally been hoped. With an initial completion target of 2020, only a small part is finished, but it is hoped by the end of the decade it could well be one of the most advanced and energy-efficient cities in the world. Moving on to number 7, Hasim Masud New Town in Algeria. The Hasim Masud New Town, which is in the Algerian Sahara Desert, is an urban development project that's looking to transform the region. The project's aim is to provide future capacity for population growth, improve living conditions, and support the country's oil and gas industries. Launched in 2006, this new town is near the existing oil-rich city of Hasim Masud, which has long been a center for energy production in Algeria. The new town is planned to cover an area of around 17.5 square miles or about 45 square kilometers, with the capacity to accommodate as many as 80,000 residents. There'll be modern shopping centers, markets and entertainment venues, parks and playgrounds and pedestrian-friendly zones, and roads, public transportation, utility networks that will connect the town to existing infrastructure and other parts of Algeria. Despite being linked to the oil industry, there will be a focus on sustainability here, with much of the energy coming from solar power, since the Sahara Desert is an ideal place to generate consistent levels of power. There are, of course, huge difficulties in doing something like this in the middle of the desert. The project's scale and reliance on advanced tech make it hugely costly, and even if the finances are there, workers are going to have to contend with extreme temperatures, sandstorms, and limited water. And even if all that's done, convincing residents and businesses to relocate to the new town may also prove difficult without significant incentives and economic opportunities. So far, the initial phase of construction has included residential housing, basic infrastructure, and industrial facilities. And with the government continuing to invest in the project, things are, at the moment, looking optimistic. Number 6. Zed City in Abu Dhabi. Zed City, which is in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, is a development project that's meant to become the new capital of the emirate. Previously known as the Capital District, Zed City was first put forward as part of the Abu Dhabi Vision 2030 plan, and once finished, it will become a center for government, business, and residential life. The site's located about 19 miles or 30 kilometers to the southeast of Abu Dhabi's city center, along the highway that connects Abu Dhabi to Dubai. This gives easy access to major transport hubs, including the Abu Dhabi International Airport. The site will cover an area of over 19 square miles, or about 49 square kilometers, and it's designed to have a population of about 370,000. Within the master plan, there's going to be a central government district, residential neighborhoods with a mix of villas, townhouses, and apartments, commercial and business parks, of course, green spaces, and public areas. The city's layout is going to emphasize walkability, green living, and efficient use of space. To live up to the sustainability ideals, all buildings in the city will adhere to the Estidama Pearl rating system, which is Abu Dhabi's framework for sustainable construction. Solar panels and energy-efficient systems are going to be used throughout the city to reduce reliance on non-renewables. It'll also be the best-served city in the Emirates for public transport, with plans for metro lines, bus networks, and cycling paths. As has been the case with many other desert city projects in recent decades, progress with the development of Zed City has been much slower than had been promised from the start, but sections have already been completed and work is ongoing. Authorities still claim that the master plan will be finished by 2030, at which point further areas around the city will be opened up for private development, and by that time it'll hopefully be a thriving city. Number 5. Kadia, Saudi Arabia. Kadia, which is near Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, is a huge mega project that's designed to become the kingdom's leading entertainment, sports, and cultural venue. Put forward as part of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, Kadia will eventually cover an area of over 140 square miles, or 360 square kilometers, and be a massive step towards transforming Saudi Arabia into a global tourism and leisure destination. Its closeness to the capital will mean that it's easy for locals to get to, and it'll have its own international airport to cater to the expected influx of tourists. The plan for the new city is divided into 5 primary development zones, each offering their own distinctive experience. First, there's the resort core, which will be the central entertainment area with theme parks, water parks, hotels, and cultural venues. Within this, there will be a Six Flags Kadia, which would be a flagship theme park and one of the first major Six Flags in the Middle East, featuring record-breaking rides and family-friendly attractions. Then there's the Motion Zone, which will all be about motorsports and extreme sports with racetracks, rally racing, and go-karting facilities, and Motorsports City, with racetracks designed for Formula One. Next is the Nature and Environment Zone, offering outdoor adventure experiences. The Sports and Wellness Zone, there will be facilities for professional sports, fitness, and wellness retreats. And the Cultural Zone, with spaces for the arts, theaters, museums, and cultural festivals that celebrate Saudi Arabia's heritage. There's no doubt that Kadia is an exciting project that, if done right, could compete with the already established entertainment destinations around the world. But there will be a few hurdles that'll need to overcome. The cost, of course, is astronomical, in the tens of billions, so continued investment is needed to make sure it's finished. And even then, it's going to need to be able to stand out among many other developments in the Middle East. Construction of Kadia, though, is already well underway, with the first phase expected to open soon. Major parks like Six Flags and several sporting venues are in advanced stages of development, and by 2030, the project is expected to be fully operational. We'll see about that. Number 4. Amaravati in Andhra Pradesh, India. Amaravati in the Indian state of Andhra Pradesh is a planned city that will eventually become the state's new capital. Announced in 2014 after the division of Andhra Pradesh and the formation of Telangana, Amaravati was developed to replace Hyderabad as the administrative and legislative center of Andhra Pradesh. But it's become an example of how difficult projects like these can be, with a series of challenges, changing political priorities, and debates over how viable it truly is. The name Amaravati comes from the ancient Amaravati Stupa, which is a famous Buddhist site that dates back to the 2nd century BCE. It's located on the banks of the Krishna River, and the proposed capital was meant to be a display of Andhra Pradesh's rich cultural heritage while also being a modern, sustainable urban center. The city was planned with a long-term view to have government buildings, residential areas, commercial hubs, and cultural spaces, making it a world-class city. The master plan included advanced infrastructure such as smart roads, digital governance, and robust public transportation systems. Over 30% of the city's area was allocated for parks, gardens, and open spaces, with the goal of enhancing livability and reducing environmental impact. Well, despite this grand vision, though, Amaravati's development has been problematic, to say the least. Initial progress included designating land for development, buying further land from farmers, construction of temporary government offices, and groundwork for infrastructure, but the city's progress stalled following a change in the state government in 2019. As of now, Amaravati is still unfinished, with only limited development of infrastructure and government facilities having taken place. The continued political and legal uncertainties here surrounding its status have stalled large-scale investments and any urban development, and it's unclear when or if it'll ever be completed. Number 3. The South Al Mutla City in Kuwait. South Al Mutla City, which is in the northern part of Kuwait, is one of the country's largest urban development projects. Designed to address Kuwait's growing demand for housing and modern infrastructure, South Al Mutla City is going to become a major residential and commercial center. It's being developed as part of the Kuwaiti government's efforts under Kuwait Vision 2035, which aims to provide high-quality living spaces while encouraging economic and environmental sustainability. The project is a response to the increasing demand for affordable and high-quality housing because of Kuwait's rapidly growing population. With an estimated cost of over $20 billion, it'll become the largest urban region in the country outside of Kuwait City. It's going to cover an area of around 40 square miles or 104 square kilometers. It'll also be one of the largest urban development projects in the entire Gulf region. It's designed to house over 400,000 residents, primarily for Kuwaiti nationals, and the city's master plan divides that development into 12 residential districts. These homes will be affordable, comfortable, and have a modern design. The city is going to be served by advanced infrastructure including road networks, water, and electricity systems. Dedicated commercial areas will then provide shopping centers, retail spaces, and business spaces, offering employment opportunities and services to residents. And across the city, there will be schools, universities, healthcare centers, parks, playgrounds, sports facilities, and community centers. On a social level, the project's going to address a critical housing shortage by providing affordable homes to Kuwaiti citizens. And the availability of modern features, schools, and healthcare facilities improves that quality of life. As with all mega projects like this, though, there's been difficulties along the way, most of which have come from administrative and funding delays. It's also, though, been tricky to develop a large city in the desert environment, which requires meticulous planning to make sure the resources can be provided to the residents. And this is made even trickier by the need for it to be done in an environmentally sustainable way. As of late 2024, significant progress has been made on the project. The government continues to prioritize the project as part of its new Kuwait 2035, and that's the current target for everything to be fully completed. Let's hope so. Number 2. Telosa in the United States. Telosa is a proposal for a futuristic city in the U.S., which was suggested by billionaire entrepreneur Mark Lohr. Announced in 2021, Telosa is meant to be a model for sustainable urban living, fair resource distribution, and a new way of governance. Described as a city of the future, Telosa wants to overcome issues that have been common in current cities like urban congestion, environmental sustainability, and social inequality. The name Telosa itself comes from the Greek word of telos, meaning higher purpose. Mark Lohr is the former CEO of Walmart e-commerce and founder at Jet.com, and sees this as a new blueprint for cities. This approach aims to ensure that rising land values benefit all residents rather than a small group of landowners, which leads to shared prosperity. The vision for it is to create a 15-minute city where residents can access work, schools, healthcare, and leisure activities within a 15-minute walk or bike ride from their homes. The project expects to cover an area of 150,000 acres of land and aims to accommodate up to 5 million residents over the next few decades. Construction will take place in phases, with the first phase for around 50,000 residents targeted for completion by 2030. There will be the mixed-use skyscrapers, combining residential, commercial, and recreational spaces to make the best use of land. These buildings will incorporate green rooftops, vertical gardens, and energy-saving tech. With potential desert location, Telosa will use advanced water recycling systems too, and drought-resistant landscaping to conserve resources. It's the governance model that will set it apart the most, though. Lohr has suggested a system he calls equitism, where the land is collectively owned by a community trust. As the value of the land increases, the profits would be reinvested into public services, infrastructure, education, and healthcare for all residents. With this approach aiming to eliminate wealth inequality and ensure the city's growth benefits everyone, not just a privileged few. It is an interesting concept, and one that would completely reshape the way we think about urban centers. It's ambitious too, with the aim of the first homes being ready by 2030, especially as nothing has been built yet, and that's the biggest issue. It's not cheap to realize a project like this, so there'll have to be huge financial investment and long-term commitments from stakeholders. There's obviously plenty of skepticism about whether it will ever become a reality, but with a number of leading people already involved in the project and a clear need and desire for alternative ways of doing things, work could well begin on it in the coming years. Number 1. The Line in Saudi Arabia. Of course it had to be the Line. Probably the most ambitious and revolutionary experimental city of all is the one that's currently in development in Saudi Arabia. It's known as the Line, and it's part of the NEOM initiative, which itself is an element of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 plan. It was announced in January of 2021 by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. This line will be a linear, smart city that will redefine urban living. The hope is that it will become a model for future cities by promoting sustainability, technology, and efficient living. The Line is part of the kingdom's goals to diversify its economy beyond oil and transform it into a global center for innovation and technology. The Crown Prince has described the project as a civilizational revolution, aiming to reimagine cities and the quality of life for their inhabitants by balancing economic development with the preservation of the environment. If fully realized, the line will be 105 miles or 170 kilometers long across the NEOM region, from the Red Sea coast through desert and mountain landscapes. Unlike traditional cities, though, it's a linear city with a narrow width of only 656 feet or 200 meters, rising to a height of over 1,600 feet or about 500 meters. The city's been designed to be a home to as many as 9 million people within the structure, while covering an area of just 13 square miles. The line is made up of 2 massive parallel mirrored buildings that run the entire length of the city, creating a futuristic reflective structure that will then be divided into layers. There will be the surface layer, which is a pedestrian-friendly environment with no cars or roads, allowing residents to move freely on foot. Next will be the service layer, where the infrastructure, utilities, logistics, and maintenance will be hidden beneath the surface to maintain a clean and efficient urban experience. Finally, there will be the spine layer, which will be a high-speed transportation system running underground, enabling residents to travel end-to-end in just 20 minutes. It is, of course, a monumental challenge that's going to require the development of new technologies and construction techniques to have any chance of becoming a reality. The current time frame is that a 3.1-mile or 5-kilometer central segment will be completed by 2030. And if this all goes to plan, then the remaining city is projected to be fully finished by 2045, at which point it'll surely become one of the most advanced and forward-thinking urban environments on Earth, even though it's in the middle of a desert. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time. Thank you to our channel members.